Okay, guys, I'm glad to be here tonight. I thought about this a lot, and I put rules of a biblical husband. Actually, it shouldn't be just a husband because we got young men here tonight that are someday going to have to be a biblical role model in their home. So that would be probably the best title to to put it as. But as a role model, or as a leader, or um, even a boss. Um, there's a difference. There's a difference in those roles, um, and and it's a big difference when you apply it to your home life as a young man. In 1 Corinthians 11:13, but I want you to know that the head of every man is Christ, and the head of every woman is man, and the head of Christ is God. So everybody has, besides God, everybody has a head. Everybody has someone that we need to structure ourselves afterwards to be godly men. And, a leader is just not Lord over the family. This is not saying, well, I'm man and caveman woman has to listen to me, and the kids are all going to do what I say, or I'm going to put the wrath of God down on them. That's not what being a leader is, or being the head of your household is. It's not in anger. It's not being an aggressor. It's listening sometimes. It's learning from the people in your family, learning from God. Picking up the Bible and studying the Bible, and the family see you, instead of having a remote control in your hand every night, or a video controller like a lot of men. uh, they look over and Dad's reading the Bible. He's studying. uh, that means a lot. I mean, again, it's preaching without using words. um, the a leader um, is a to is to provide. The Bible says that a man leaves his mother and father and joins to his wife. So there's going to be a time that these young men here, they're going to leave their mother and father. Uh, they're going to start their own family or their own household. Um, but even though you're the leader of that household, you still should join or cleave to your wife, because that becomes your partner. That becomes as much blood as anybody in your family. And as you marry, they say you become one, and that's very true. So you keep in mind, as you're just, again, I'm man, she's woman, she got to listen. It's not like that. Um, God did not say, "Woman, where are you?" when He was asking for Adam. He didn't. He didn't call for a woman. God said, "Come," asked of a man. He calls, "Where are you?" When He went to the Garden of Eden after they had sinned, He didn't come and say, "Okay, Eve, where are you at?" What? He went to the man. He went to Adam, because Adam was the leader. Adam was the person that should have been the stronghold, the person that didn't listen to Eve but did. And and Adam said, "I heard you in the garden, but I was afraid because I was naked." And you know, he knew wrong had been done. No matter whose fault it was, he was over that garden. He was the man that should have refrained and should have took charge. Um, so Adam had to take responsibility to uh, to say, yeah, this happened under my watch, basically. Another thing that a godly man needs to be in your household is a pastor, a preacher. of that household. You don't have to be called of God to preach, but you still have that role as a pastor. You need to be a godly role model for your family, for your wife, and for your kids. A good role model, of course, would be a man that stands up and tells his family, come on, we're going to church on Sunday. But you hear all kinds of excuses from your kids, or even from my own family. I hear, me and my husband, we work so hard all through the week. We don't really want to sit through church today. I mean, it's a great day to go kayaking, go to the mountains, go hiking, whatever. Gotta understand, I've worked all week. We've worked hard. I don't want to go to church. You're going to hear it from your own children. Dad, I've played ball all week, and you know how I've practiced football. Well, guess what? You're probably not going to be a professional football player. Chances are, and you are going to live and die, and you're either going to go to heaven or hell. So there's things in life that a godly man needs to take charge of, and he needs to let the family members and people in his household know, no, we're going to church today. We're going to serve God. And if everything else gets in the way, then we'll stop it. But you've got to take charge. Some of the things you need to do, and I heard this here from other men, and I love it, is, pray over your wife, whether she knows it or whether she don't. Spend more time with your wife in prayer. I'm guilty of not doing. I'm guilty of that. I have to. So a lot of this I'm preaching to me. That's why this was a little bit easier for me to do, because it's stuff that I find myself that I'm failing in. But you should. You bring your family to church, but you also got to have the faith to grow your family. Bringing them to church ain't really going to show them a whole lot unless you've got the faith. You've got the faith that I'm bringing my family to church, or I'm bringing my wife to church because I've got the faith that God's going to move. Things are going to be better. Have daily devotions, have daily prayer, daily Bible study. Pray at the end of the night for your spouse and your family. Have prayer together. Just try to live a godly life. And then the next is to be a provider of your family. Man, in today's time, that's a biggie. As a man, we've got to be a good provider. Genesis 2:15 says, then the Lord God took man and put him on the couch to play video games.
No.
No, that's not what it says. Genesis 2:15 says, then the Lord God took man and put him in the Garden of Eden to tend and keep it. So he made man from the spit and from the dirt. He made man to actually tend to the garden, to work. He could have made it really, really simple and just said, okay, here's everything in this, and he kind of did. Here's everything in this wonderful garden that you can partake of except for this one fruit, and you can have all the goodness and live life happily ever after. But he didn't. He somewhat did that, but he still made man to work. He put him over Eve. And so he intends for us to work. He intends for us to provide for our home. God worked for 6 days. He intended for man to work 6 days a week and 1 day of rest. And I know a lot of us, we get Saturday and Sunday off, and that's great. I mean, that's, but his intention is, no, don't be lazy. If you have to work 6 days a week, if you have to work 2 jobs 6 days a week to provide, you have 1 day of rest, 1 day to serve the Lord, and you go back to work. You provide wherever it takes for your family. Here's how things have changed in statistics I found today. In the 1950s, 1 out of every 50 men did not want to work or didn't work in the U.S. 1 out of 50 men, which I thought was pretty high for the 1950s. Today, 1 out of 9 men don't work or don't want to work or don't have the desire to work. 1 out of 9 men. That's pretty amazing. But then it's not amazing when you go to a restaurant and they don't have enough waiters or waitresses or cooks. I'm taking my dog to a new vet in Lenore, and I first was going to take him to a vet in Sparta, and they weren't even taking no patients because they can't get enough vets and they can't get enough help inside of an animal hospital to treat all the animals that need to be treated. The same way with Lenore. I'm going to have to wait and take Zeus on Friday because they don't have the staff. They're covered up. You see that everywhere you go. There's help wanted, and it's healthcare professionals the same way. I mean, it's amazing. According to a new report by Senator Marco Rubio, I guess how you say it. He said the problem is not the number of men unemployed, but 7 million men in the prime of their lives are missing from the labor force. I mean, think about that. 7 million men. Now, this is current. This was last year that, Senator Rubio done this. And that's a lot of men. That's a lot of... that. I'm not talking about men that can't work, that there's people that's on disability and for whatever reason. But how many times, and I've got to be guilty because I've said it before. I've never had to sign up a day in my life, and there's nothing wrong with that. I've always worked. I've always found work if I was out of work. But right before I got sick with COVID and put me out of work, I lost my job. We lost our contract. And I would apply for work, but guess what? I was making more money signing up. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to milk this thing as long as I can because I got to provide for my family. I'm making more money signing up than what I am working. Now, if I would have found a job and I was actively looking that would have paid more, I would have took it. But I'm not sure that I did the right thing by milking it. But that's what I did. And that's what a lot of people done. And then COVID made it so much easier for people to milk the government and just sit back and draw paychecks and not have to pay their rent. And but as of today, this is the largest amount of men that are capable of working since the Great Depression that's not working. So we're actually higher than the Great Depression was. And you got to keep in mind with men, and this is also happening within my family, and I'm probably guilty of this too because I've had lots of dreams. And people say, well, it's all right to dream. It is okay to dream. But to your wife, dreams don't pay the bills. You can dream all day long, but you've got to be able to either act on those dreams and put your money where your mouth is. But I've had people in my family that they've spent their whole life being daydreamers. If I just had $30,000, man, I could start this business. And I know of people that their wives has worked 2 jobs to support the man in his dreams, and it's still not going. I had a good friend that him and his wife finally split up, and they were both good Christian people. There's no doubt in my mind. But his dreams weren't that family because he was too lazy to work. But he had good intentions. Proverbs 14:24. In all labor there is profit, but idle chatter leads only to poverty. So again, your wife don't want to hear idle chatter, or your family. They want to see results. If it's any way humanly possible, a godly man will support his family. And again, with that said, just be a good provider. That's what God asks of us. That's what our family asks of us. Being moral, being a very moral person means a lot when it comes to your family, when it comes to your household. There's so much out there now with internet and Facebook and pop-ups, stuff that just pops up. It shouldn't pop up on your phone, that you might glimpse for a second or look at, that shouldn't be there. It's just stuff out there just to entice men all the way around, and women. But Matthew 5:28, but I say unto you that whosoever looks at a woman to lust for her has already committed adultery within his heart. And we all know that. Even the young guys know that. They know that, if you look upon a woman and it's more than, well, she's really attractive or whatever, if you've got lust, if you've got something else in your heart, you've done cheated on your wife. You might as well have done the act, as far as God looks at it. And that's hard being men. And there's women out here that wear stuff and do stuff just to entice men. But that don't mean that we have to go with the flow. We might need to ask for forgiveness every day. But there's statistics on cheating that I looked up. This was from several years ago, but 20% of all men, they say, in the U.S. will cheat on their spouse. 54% of men cheat more than what women do. That's a high percentage of men that would cheat over the top of, even though women do cheat. I think one of the things that really entice men is flirting. Women touching or saying, or just in a business setting. I was chief of security and safety at Lowe's corporate offices, and at one time, there were 3,000 people in that building, and it was amazing. I mean, I don't picture myself to be a good-looking man at all, but stuff that was said or actions that's done by women just would amaze me, and you don't act on them. But you got texting now, you've got social media, counseling. Let's say you're having problems with your spouse, or you're having problems with things that's going on in the home. One of the biggest traps of Satan is to have a man console in another woman. Well, how's things going with you and Mary Lou? Well, things ain't real good right now, and we're having all these problems, and well, that's, and the woman gets to listening, and there's even women out there, and I know it, that will be like, well, let's pray before we, if you need me, you call me anytime, but I want to pray for you and your wife that things will work out. Basically, a lot of times that's a Jezebel. That's somebody that's doing whatever they can do to keep this thing going and find out what's going on in your home. And when you're talking to the opposite sex about things that's going on in your home, it's just like Adam putting more wood on the fire. He's feeding it. He's going to keep it going. And he's going to know it's going to need more wood and need more wood. The woman's the same way. You're telling her everything she needs to know to tell you everything you need to know to make her think she's a much better woman than who you're with. And yeah, I've heard them say it. I've heard women say it. Well, but they knew all the right things to say. They're good listeners, or they knew all the right things. They're a good Christian man. It's because you told it to them. You've told them everything. It's like going to a palm reader. Palm reader can't read your palm. You tell them everything that they want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And they roll with that. And that's what happens a lot of times. What I'm getting at is with a group of men, this is what I like about here. I can go to any of you men in confidence here or one-on-one or with any of my pastors, and I know I'll get good advice, and I know that it's going to be something that's needed, and it's going to be biblical. I don't even believe, and I really don't, and I've been through counseling. My first marriage, it failed, and counseling, unless it's Christian counseling, and I think if two of you's going to a counselor together, that's fine, maybe to go to a man or a woman. But one-on-one, if you're a man, you need a man counselor. I believe that. Call me old-fashioned. If you're a woman, you need to be going to a woman counselor. Because I don't know how many times, and I know for a fact, and y'all probably do too, that counselors and ministers, whether they're male or female, has got caught up in helping somebody, and it goes the wrong way. So, as men, we need to lean on each other. That's why we're here. This is probably the best thing that I've ever in my life been involved in. And, there's traps out there. There's traps straight from hell out there. So, we need to kind of watch out for that. Don't always think that the person that's lending an ear, is actually listening. Don't think that the grass is greener on the other side. The grass is greener over the septic tank, and that's for a reason. So, just watch the traps. There might be a reason that she's not married anymore. It's kind of like this man. There was this man he went to go visit a friend at the cemetery that had passed on to pay his respects, and he's seen a man over there just crying his eyes out, and he's down on his knees, and he's at this headstone, and he's like, "Oh God, why did you take them? Why so soon? Oh, I just can't believe that they're gone. I'm so distraught. Oh Lord, please." And so the man comes over and he says, "Excuse me, sir, but I'm so sorry for your sorrow." He said, "Was this your wife?" And he said, "No." He said, "It was my wife's first husband that died." So it don't always seem like it should. So, talk to your pastor, talk to your brothers with the Alliance, or men in general. Proverbs 18:10, "In the name of the Lord is a strong tower, and the righteous man runs into it and is safe." So we're that strong tower. We should be, a strong tower. The definition: a strong tower is a central place in a adjacent city or places where people can run away from danger. A fallout shelter, whatever is that strong tower. Anything that's going to keep you safe, any place that you can go to. We need to be that in our family. We need to be that strong tower. We need to be the security of our home as well, with all these, other things. This is, God made men, when they made us muscular, they made us to endure stuff like what the exercise and the ability to, if we have to, hand-to-hand combat with somebody to protect our family or our spouse. And I ain't saying women can't. I know some women out here can kick my rear end, but you know, it we're supposed to be that protector of women. And you know what I basically wanted to try to touch on tonight was leading provider, being a pastor, and a protector in your home. So I guess what I'm saying is, you know, be a man. Just stand up, be a man. Thank God for this alliance. Thank God for the men that I've got around me, that you're my high tower. You're who I can rely on. You're who I can go to. I leave here every week learning something to better my home and my marriage. And, you know, that's what I ask of y'all, is to take from this. You know, if you have any discussion, if you want to add to it, if something I'm sure I missed about